Ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's time for another episode of the Squared Circle Maniacs Pro Wrestling Podcast. My name is Johnny Bottles. To my left is Dr. Don Wayne. We said we were going to do an extra show this week, but the story that we broke the other day on Wednesday at 7 was so monumentous. It's the biggest story in professional wrestling right now. A lot of people want to deny it. What's that?
There's still fallout happening now.
Still fallout happening now. A lot of people want to deny all this, and we know who those people are.
Yes, we do.
Young 16-year-old men who've never touched a woman before, living in their parents' basement, watching anime and playing Xbox Live, and watching AEW content. Those gentlemen need to wake up because there were even more developments just a few days ago that we weren't privy to from our source. We're not going to mention the source. All I can say is that our source is a guy or girl who follows the podcast, who'd rather give the big news to a little podcast that this person watches, as opposed to the bigger guys like Dave Meltzer, Sean Ross Sapp, Wade Keller from the Pro Wrestling Torch, Dave Scherer. Not that there's anything wrong with those guys. I love Dave Scherer. I love Wade Keller. The other two I mentioned are grossly inaccurate in what they report, but we won't go into that right now because that could be 2 extra shows. Am I right, Don? We could fill that content up in 2 other shows. But Don's having apparently a few problems, so we will just keep on flowing right now. The show itself is going to cover a meeting that happened at the beginning of this week, and Tony Khan was in the meeting. So go ahead, Don. What do you got?
Sorry, somebody trying to call me, man. Drive me crazy. So they had a meeting, like you said. Tony Khan was there, and he was essentially told, we're not going to renew with you. We are, in fact, going with WWE Raw. This is happening now. They had been in talks with him now for a while. This was the direction they were going in. AEW's ad sales don't make enough money. Essentially, they make less than Dr. Pimple Popper on TLC's network is what it came down to. You're not making any money for us, and there is no growth within your business. There's no growth in your company at all. It's getting worse, as we'll talk about in a little while here. No one else is tuning in. You're not driving people in droves. It's the opposite. They're getting away from you now.
The ad revenue is almost non-existent for what they're putting out for their content. A lot of people don't want to accept that fact. But that's the cause and effect of not caring about the content, not properly, not pacing a show, not formatting a show the right way. In this meeting were the heads, basically, you might as well say, the people that drive the Warner Brothers TV group, which entails TBS, TNT,
the
HBO
HMFICs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The HMFICs were all there.
And they laid it on the line to Tony Khan, the blood drinking, the pizza cutter across the forehead, which resulted in them losing sponsors. The blood drinking really resulted in them losing sponsors. And they had 3 offers on the table that they pitched to Tony Khan just to keep the program on the air. And we don't know what particular program. I know they would probably cut back a couple of those shows. Don't know which ones. Dynamite's probably, it's a flagship show. They would probably keep Dynamite.
You've got to get rid of that Friday horse shit, though. And I'd probably get rid of the Saturday show too. That entire Saturday show was made to be around CM Punk. But it started off, which was the key one that he told me that I was reading it, was this previous contract was made by the previous guys in charge of Warner Bros. Discovery. We've discussed that. They were trying to get the wrestling business. These new guys in charge are not a fan of this product. The data that they have on AEW right now shows absolutely zero growth in the past 4 years. There is nothing happening with this show in a positive way. The other part was this, that you sort of discussed it, but not in depth. The investors and advertisers, here it is, read his social media output and makes it very negative in how they see the entire company, because he can't stop. He can't help himself.
He can't help himself. He can't.
He's just live tonight, live tonight. We're going live. It's like, dude, get out of sentence, form it completely, and move on. But he can't help himself. He's got to engage with anybody and everybody who says something negative about his product, as do his wrestlers, a la Chris Jericho. They can't help themselves, man.
No.
And it's not like they do it once or twice. They do it all the time. And for everybody going crazy saying, well, that pay-per-view, it wasn't on their channel. It doesn't matter. Don't you get this, you moron, neckbeard, panty-sniffing, video game playing, Mountain Dew chugging dicktards. If anyone sees it and they associate it with your product, it's going to get a negative review. It doesn't live in a bubble, you moron.
The day after that pay-per-view, the clip of him drinking that man's blood and people talking about it and people were aghast about it. It was all over Twitter, all over Facebook, all over Instagram. You name the social media platform, it was all over it. It was even on YouTube. Clips of it was on YouTube because everyone thought it was, the neckbeards, of course, thought it was neat. Advertisers don't think swapping blood like that with someone else is neat. It's a health hazard. And it's just a bad
taste
look.
in anything. It's bad taste.
Bad taste? It's a bad taste in your mouth.
I mean, unless you're running a vampire show, what the f are you doing, man? That was such a bad thing to have in a wrestling match. It was terrible. And you mentioned the 3 spots, the 3 offers that they made him, right? And here's what really killed the deal, because they really wanted to keep him from what we were told. Again, we don't know this firsthand. This is what we're being told. Tony Khan was going to die on that Ring of Honor hill that he said, this Ring of Honor deserves its own show. It's a dead brand that he never should have sunk his money into. No one was clamoring for Ring of Honor. The only thing I cared about Ring of Honor was probably the early stuff that had CM Punk and Samoa Joe. That might have been cool to have in the footage of the archive. Other than that, who gives a shit? All the titles don't mean anything. I'm the Ring of Honor World Champion. Well, then what the hell's the AEW World Champion? You can't have 2 world champions in the same company. It doesn't work that way. That's why I hate what the WWE's done with the Universal title and the Heavyweight title. It's like, what the hell's the difference? I hate that nonsense.
Well, they would have given him an increase if Tony would have let Warner Bros. Discovery control aspects of the TV show, like hiring writers. They would have handled the marketing for all the TV shows. They would have had input towards the content of the TV shows and approved certain things, but Tony Khan refused. He needs to have complete control over his programming and over his social media. And if you recall, Don, back in the day when WCW was a thing, Turner Networks had all this in WCW. They had control over hiring writers, the marketing of all the shows. They handled it all. And they had input. You just couldn't go willy-nilly and do whatever you wanted to do on TV.
Oh, yeah, like you had to answer to somebody if you do something stupid on the show.
But like you said, yes, you'd have to answer to someone if you did something stupid on a show. And especially when you drop the F-bomb on live TV, uncensored. And that's one of the most egregious things they've done on broadcast TV. But I digress. Like you said, the Ring of Honor hill is something he wants to die on at the expense of a $175 million a year company.
Unbelievable.
Which is losing $34 million a year, $34 to $35 million a year, and possibly more next year because he keeps signing people. It's just ridiculous. Absolutely
I want to thank everybody
ridiculous.
for joining as well, by the way. Got a lot of new subscribers. We appreciate the support. We are a small podcast, but we're trying to break a big story because we're getting some insider news. And once again, Tony Khan was told this week by the executives at Warner Brothers Discovery, your show will not be renewed. We're going with Raw. That's what he told them this week. So they had the meeting with WWE a week ago. This week he met with AEW, and here it comes down the pipe. And here's the other part about this. We touched on it a little bit, but here it is.
Go ahead.
The WBD executives are furious about the firing of CM Punk and how it was handled because they sunk approximately $50 million into this Saturday night show.
$50 million in a collision for CM Punk because he's the biggest name, the biggest ratings getter on their programming.
We talked about this last week. Why is he such a draw? He's the last of a dying breed. He doesn't have to have a read-by-read, line-by-line promo. He can go out there and do shit off the fly and make it look good. And that's what they had. And instead, look, if you have 2 employees that fight, right? 2 employees that fight, just for argument's sake. If one employee instigates it and the other one returns fire, okay, the one that instigated should be the guy getting looked at. In this case, it was the other guy. They fired Punk because it was, I was afraid for my life, as Tony Khan said. So I hope it was worth it to him because he's about to lose his TV show. From everything we're hearing, he's about to lose it.
He had to blow it. He instant up. He had to blow it up to make it look like it was so egregious. He had to get rid of this man. He got rid of the guy as a favor to his friends. His employees are his friends. I don't know if he was sheltered as a child and didn't have any friends. He's got to buy them now. But his employees are his friends. And at the sacrifice of his company. I'm sure they'll find a home somewhere on Pop TV. The neckbeards are talking about, they'll be on TBS and WWE will be on TNT. No. That's not going to happen. And now with the Paramount, the rumor that they're going to merge with Paramount. Oh, they'll be on Paramount Plus as opposed to being on the Turner networks. No, they're done. They're done. When Dr. Pimple Popper brings in more ad revenue. See, a lot of people, I got into it with a guy today on Twitter.
Imagine that.
About ratings don't mean anything. They all say this.
I saw that asshole.
The ratings, everyone's worried about the ratings. The ratings don't mean anything. In fact, he said the Workers Club podcast, the Workers Club pod, I guess they have a podcast. They replied to the Freakazoid Nightmare, the AEW Freakazoid Nightmare, who I love. He said, imagine caring this much about something so inconsequential. And, he couldn't spell caring. He had to spell it carrying. Get hooked on phonics, Workers Club. But at any rate, ad revenue drives television.
That's how it works.
That's how it works. You've got to have people watching your product. More eyes on your product, the more money you can charge advertisers. The networks can charge advertisers more money per minute for that particular show based on the ratings. If the show's not getting any ratings, what are you going to charge Procter & Gamble for a Jergens commercial? $19 a minute?
Well,
Notice I said Jergens because that audience loves the Jergens.
Yeah. This AEW audience will be primed to buy that spot. That's their wheelhouse, baby.
Oh,
the other part
primed, all right.
The other part that was talked about this week, and our source talked about, Raj actually put this out there literally half an hour after
Raj Geary.
Yeah, Raj put this out half an hour after our source told me this. There's a lot of things being done behind AEW. I don't have details yet, but a lot of people are being removed. And then Raj comes out with a tweet literally half an hour after I got that message. There's been some behind-the-scenes removals in AEW lately. I'm guessing it'll be out soon, but regardless, he's trying to get a second source.
Well, Bischoff.
Our source had this before Raj had it.
Right. Bischoff and on his podcast with Conrad. Conrad made allusions to the fact that there's another person going to be leaving AEW very, very soon.
I didn't see that. Is it an executive level or wrestler?
It's he didn't say. It's on YouTube. There's a clip on YouTube, a 13-minute clip of Bischoff talking about how the product AEW is dying a death by 1,000 cuts. Little nicks just add up to one big bloodletting. And when Kevin Sullivan, who happens to be a post-production guy, not the other Kevin Sullivan, he left. Cody Rhodes left.
Cody Rhodes left. In all fairness, Cody left over a year ago. So
yes, that was the start. QT Marshall.
That's the one that shocked everybody. He said, "I'd rather take my chances on the indie scene than stand in this Titanic that we just hit the goddamn iceberg. Where in the hell is my life craft? I got to get the hell out of here. Give me the lifeboat. Give me my jacket. I'm gone, baby."
Because he knew.
Oh, he knew. He's tripping all the shit. He knows what's going on. He's got nowhere. They got nowhere to go, man. Get off this ship while you can. So I'm trying to see if we miss anything. I think we hit all the highlights on what we got. Greatly appreciated again, unnamed source. That was pretty shocking to say the least. Where I was like, holy shit, they told him. Like, it's been confirmed. They've told him. We'll see if this comes to pass. I've got faith in it. I don't know about you, but I've got pretty good faith in this guy.
Absolutely.
Really do.
Absolutely. When you have to understand, everyone's got to understand when Tony Khan signed this deal, this contract in 2019 to be on television on Turner, he signed it with a totally different group of individuals who were in charge. When Warner Brothers Discovery, when Discovery came in and bought Warner Brothers, and it became Warner Brothers Discovery, 2 years after that, David Zaslav was the head guy. from Discovery. He took over everything, and he's cutting costs and calling the shots. And if you're not performing, you're done. You're out the. And this is a case of they were up here at one point in time, Don.
Yeah.
And now they're going down.
Well, look,
and it comes time to cut bait.
I know, Chris put in the comments earlier, he doesn't want to see AEW go out of business because he feels like they made some competition for WWE. And I'll agree to a point that competition does feed the fire for any company. It really does. But here's my issue. They haven't been competitive now in 3 years with the WWE as far as actually drawing a significant audience. It's been a long time since they had a good show. And this Wednesday was no exception. What a shit show that was.
What a disaster that was.
I don't know if you watched. I don't even watch, Johnny. I watched when I saw what the opening match was. I said, I don't need to watch this shit tonight. It's Christmas. I got better shit to do.
I watched it, Don. They had a 964,000 viewer lead in from the Big Bang Theory, and it collapsed. They lost 160,000. Well, I'm sorry, 161,000 viewers in the first 15 minutes with Roosh and Swerve Strickland. Swerve's a draw, don't you know? Because Chris Jericho said online just the other day that when Swerve Strickland is on TV, the ratings always go up. Yeah, how wrong can one man be? How many shitty takes can one man have the entire year?
Oh, he also had another one. He had another one last where he said, if I die tomorrow, I'll be considered one of the greatest in the world.
I saw that. He wouldn't be in the top 50.
He might be top 50. I'd probably say somewhere after 30 is where I think I'd start thinking about putting.
You'd have to go back to guys like...
But that's just my era. No, but that's what I'm saying. My era and what I've watched. If you're going to go all the way back to the beginning of time, then yeah, he's probably not even top 50.
He's not even top 50 if you go back to the beginning of time.
Yeah, like you're going to have, Luthez, Gotch, all those guys are going to be in there.
Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers.
Yeah, Munchnick,
all those guys. Of course. Toru Tanaka, Mr. Fuji. Good Lord. Give me a break. If you want to look at the ratings, they went down to 803 for the second quarter hour. They hit 795 for the third. 779 they hit, which was the Great Samoa Joe and MJF live promo battle, where the ring was surrounded and they fought those guys off. And then you went right to Orange Cassidy, Chris Statlander, Rocky Romero, and Trent Beretta, who forgot what he was going to say on live TV.
Yes. Well, it wasn't as bad as old finger bang from last week, so there's something to be said for that. Matt, I know that AEW has all the bleeding all the time. To be honest, I don't think advertisers want to see that at all anymore anyway, period, where you still see WWE doing it. Once you know it's a work and you know that they're actually cutting themselves open, it's no longer cool. Like that part of the gimmick is gone now.
Now, I don't think Moxley bled in the main event.
Good.
Think about it. Moxley did not bleed.
I don't know. I didn't watch because I'm not watching this shit anymore. I
watched it, and I do not think that Moxley bled, as I recall. Saraya and Riho actually raised the rating just a hair to 782 at the beginning of the 9 o'clock hour. And they're pushing Riho, and we all know why they're pushing Riho, because someone else is pushing Riho. But it eventually cratered at 721 at the overrun. They went to 709.
And by the way, this was a planned overrun, and notice that the rating didn't spike at the end of the hour all of a sudden.
Absolutely not.
For
Jon Moxley and Jay White. Yep. Give me a break.
Because their DVRs kept recording, and as soon as that other show came on, or whatever movie it was, that's what gets the rating to go back up. So I'm so angry right now.
This man who runs this company is so delusional. It's literally the meme of the little dog drinking a coffee in a flaming house saying, this is fine. This is okay.
You know what it is to me?
What is it to you?
You ever seen Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? The second one? Sorry, no, Clerks 2. I'm thinking of Clerks 2.
I haven't seen Clerks 2.
Okay, well, there's a pretty good donkey scene in there. That's what reminds me of this whole thing. Sexy Kelly and the Sexy Stud. And the guy lines up behind the donkey. He goes, hey, where the hell is Kelly? And he goes, I'm Kelly. I'll have to send it to you. If you've never seen Clerks 2, you're missing out.
I've never seen
AEW
Clerks
is a donkey show. Plain and simple. Easy
it's
enough.
It's the absolute shits.
I know you've seen Bachelor, yes.
Who?
Bachelor in the 80s with Tom Hanks.
Bachelor Party, yes, I've seen that.
That's the same donkey
It's similar
show.
to, okay.
It's the same donkey show.
I got you.
See, there it is. Big Lou got it. Kiki Kelly, the sexy stud.
This man is so delusional in thinking that this company is worth so much, he could just shit on whatever offers they slide across the table to him. He's got to realize he needs to cut his staff. He needs to cut the roster.
Cut his roster. Cut the roster. You
need 60 of those 201 people you have.
I don't even know if you need 60 of them, to be honest.
If you're going to drive 3 shows, you'll need 60.
If you're going
to drive 3 shows.
I'm not driving 3 shows. I'm driving a show, and I'm probably cutting 80% of the women's roster because they just can't wrestle. It's terrible.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all I
have. All the Japanese girls would be gone. They would be out the door. Baker would be gone. Anybody who could actually wrestle. The girls from Ring of Honor, I'd bring them over to the main show. At least they can wrestle.
Rhea was wrestling, what's her name, right? The English chick. Saraya, however you want to say it.
Yes.
I did go over and see that. I was like, what the hell is she doing back in the ring?
Dude, she's got a bad neck, and she took 4 Hurricane Ranas around the neck on the concrete outside the ring. Oh, how stupid can that be? Whatever happens to her, she deserves it. I hate to say it. If she's going to break her neck again and be paralyzed from the waist down, it's on her.
Yeah.
And she'll probably bill Tony for it and sue him.
Well, I do have some other little bit of a tidbit news for you.
What do you have, Don?
The greatest idiot of our time in wrestling has signed with MLW, brah.
I know exactly who that is.
The bro has arrived, porn star wife in hand, bastard child aboard. Let's go, Matt Riddle, to the MLW. And somebody put a tweet out earlier this week of him and he's wrestling. Help me out here.
Jacob Fatu.
Yes, Fatu. And it
Fatu.
says, what do you guys, somebody put out a tweet, what do you guys think of Matt Riddle wrestling Fatu? I said, I sure wish somebody would find a way to get Fatu to WWE. That's what I think of this. Instead, he's wasting his talent down there. It drives me crazy.
Well,
but he's signed.
The storyline they're going to do is, obviously, Court Bowers, knows what he's doing in that respect for writing the show, that Matt Riddle had issues with the bloodline when he was in WWE. That's right. He's still feuding with the bloodline now at MLW.
That's pretty good.
Have you heard about the new signee to GCW, Game Changer Wrestling?
Oh, well, I did see this.
January 25th, Don. Mark your calendar. Top Dollar returns.
Baby. Let me dive over the top rope. No, we don't need that. We don't need to see any of that. Him diving over the top rope was so much worse than Homeboy sliding under the ring in so many ways, because that was just comical when that shit happened.
Yes.
Him diving over the top rope was a farce of it. It was terrible. It was cringy even when you saw. I was like, why is your big ass trying to jump over the top rope like that? And why are you morons trying to catch him?
All I can say about Top Dollar is he's got the gift of gab and he's a confident man. In the ring, he can't do anything but punch, kick, and maybe body slam people. He shouldn't be diving over the top rope at all. But that's enough of Top Dollar. I got a bad taste in my mouth talking about Top Dollar.
Yeah, well, when you put another taste, figure it out. Kenny Omega, by the way, said he had a 50% chance of dying if they didn't discover his diverticulitis.
Mm-hmm. Have they operated on him yet, I wonder?
They're saying that he has. Well, that's what Meltzer said. He was told when diagnosed that he was very lucky when he went in because the situation could have been catastrophic, such as a blood infection. It wasn't diagnosed at the time he'd had a 50% chance of death. I will not leave Titus O'Neil out of this. It was one of the greatest angles I've ever seen. Who would have thought the genius of saying, Titus O'Neil, I need your big ass to run down the ring at top speed and dive under it to where all I see are your feet. If you haven't seen this, go back and watch it. It is the funniest shit you'll ever see in professional wrestling, bar none. Hilarious. I love it. Anyway, back to the regularly scheduled program. Bottles, what else do you got for me?
Hang on a second, buddy. Okay, we're back now. The diverticulitis story, I think, is a cover story for another issue.
You've been saying that for a while.
Yes, it's a cover story for another issue. The man didn't seem like he was himself when he was in the ring on his last appearance on television. When he went to a commercial break, when they played Judas and they were walking to the ring, he's dancing in the ring to Judas. Saw clips of it on Twitter. Didn't look like a guy who had diverticulitis and was in severe pain. He looked like he was feeling pretty good. Now, I don't know if he had surgery, if he slipped in the shower and landed on the wrong way on the shampoo bottle. I'm not sure. I don't know what it was, a 1,000,001 shot, Doc. I have no idea. But it seems awfully strange.
Here's what I do know.
What's
That promo and that entire segment with him in the ring was awful and made no sense. It didn't go anywhere. I said to you when we were watching it, I said, hey, man, does he look stoned or drunk or out of his mind or something to you? Because something looks wrong. He did. He looked high as shit. So,
and for that matter, so does John Moxley. For that matter. I'm just going to say that. John Moxley's an alcoholic, supposedly, allegedly.
Well,
recovering. He went into rehab for it, for other things too. And I think he's got that bloated look to his face, much like Kenny did. I think he's back on something. I'm not sure. But
the other part about that whole
speculation and conjecture.
The whole other part about that whole diverticulitis thing is, you know that the F5 is called the diverticulitis in the
Fight
video
Forever.
game that they make.
In the shitty video game, yes.
You talk about karma coming back to get your ass, son. That's a taste of it right there. And who was in charge of designing the video game?
Kenny Omega. He had input. Kenny Omega. He had input of what he wanted. That's why it cost $100 million to make.
Yeah, stupid shit. Anyway, that's
the great Dean Malenko. Speaking of AEW, he's a agent for AEW. He underwent brain surgery just the other day for his symptoms for Parkinson's disease, and I hope he's doing okay.
That's kind of scary, man. I hope he's all right. I didn't realize he was having the onset of that shit. That's terrible.
Regal's non-compete. William Regal has a non-compete with AEW 1 year, and now it's almost up where he can appear on WWE programming.
Let me ask you something. Do you think he comes back on the air? Do you think he actually makes a on-camera return for
Absolutely.
For NXT?
Absolutely. No, not NXT. I think they'll put him on the main roster.
Where though? Where the hell would he go?
I would not be surprised if they put him with the Brawling Brutes.
But isn't he already on? He's in charge of the NXT Training Center, right? Like he has to do with those folks, doesn't he? That's where he's at.
He's a talent scout. He goes out and for these next in line things, he's a talent scout. He runs the talent scout aspect of the whole thing with Matt Bloom and a few other guys. And he goes, he travels around the country, around the world looking at talent, like JR used to do and Briscoe used to do. And he was the on-air authority figure for NXT. Now, lately, the on-air authority figure is Shawn Michaels and his secretary, Ava Rain, who's standing outside his office door all the time. So
that's sort of where I'm going is, that's sort of where I'm going is where do you put him if you're going to put him on Canada? Because he can't be the Raw or the SmackDown GM. They got two guys on there now doing an excellent job, I've got to say. I've been impressed with it.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. The Dynamite numbers were down.
I know you're a fan,
Dynamite,
Chris, but I don't want to see Nick Aldis in the wrestling ring full time ever again.
When the Dynamite numbers crashed and those numbers came out yesterday, Meltzer got online to say when NXT ratings are down, we don't get any stupid comments. When Raw's down, we get a few. When SmackDown's down, we get almost none. When Dynamite's down, they're everywhere. Thankfully, they didn't see the income study and education study on the viewers of the different shows, which Meltzer is trying anything he can to plead the case for the neckbeards and just pat them on the head and say, and rub them on the belly and give them a brownie, give them a cookie and a hot glass of warm milk and say everything's going to be okay. Go back to sleep. Just have sweet, wet dreams about Tony Khan and Sky Blue. Everything's going to be fine. You're a smart guy. You're watching AEW. You're not stupid and mildly retarded like a WWE viewer. You spend money. They don't spend any money. It's been
if
proven.
If they spent money, they wouldn't have only 3,000 people at a live Wednesday show. That's the issue. So stop telling me that they spend money and they're smarter. It's the most ridiculous take I've ever seen him have. And he's had some whoppers, man. But this
Dude,
guy is literally spewing out propaganda bullshit like he is in goddamn North Korea trying to convince everybody that America's falling behind the times and we're still driving, whips and horses and buggies. He's trying to convince everybody. That's Dave right now. He is the North Korean administrator for AEW propaganda material.
He's doing whatever he can. He's doing whatever he can. I see the reason why they're not breaking this story. Sapp, Meltzer, Wade Keller, those guys, they're getting paid by Tony Khan.
So you keep saying that you're convinced that they're getting paid. You really are convinced about it.
Absolutely. They're probably getting, when they have a pay-per-view, they're getting free tickets to the pay-per-view in the box seats, the luxury box, and hotel accommodations, same as the wrestlers, press passes, media scrum, catered food, the whole 9 yards. They're treated like kings to go out and spew their bullshit.
It's
Tony Khan, and they get the info from Tony Khan. That's who they get the info from. They don't get the info from executives like we did.
Right.
That's all I'm going to say. We got the info from people who actually work. Well, they have a business relationship.
Yes.
That's all I can say. They have a business relationship with Warner Brothers Discovery. And they're not going to give that info to Meltzer because, number one, he probably won't mention it. Tony Khan's going to say everything's all sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns.
Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Of course,
everything's fine. The house is on fire. Everything's fine. I'm trying to pull up the figures that our individual gave us on ad rates for hockey. Do you have that, Don?
I had it. I just now took it down. I didn't know you want to talk about that because I thought we had moved past it, to be quite honest. Here we go.
Hockey ad revenue.
It's up, was it 150%?
The hockey
compared to just last year.
1.6 billion. $1.6 billion this year so far of ad revenue for hockey in a year's time?
I believe. Bought, yes. I think that's bought for the year.
Bought for the year. Absolutely unbelievable. And when Dr. Pimple Popper has a higher ad rate per minute than AEW, you know something's wrong.
Anyway.
I'd wager the Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon have higher ad rates.
Well, I know they do because that's a syndicated show, and they got to make some money somehow because those actors are all getting paid for it. So
sure,
something's got to happen.
Sure,
makes the most sense to me. What was there anything else that I had on my plate? I can't remember. Got anything else, Bottles? So I think that drained the world. Oh, I do got one more thing. I do have one more before I'm ready to bounce out of here. I saw the Iron Claw today.
Yes.
Man, that's a tough watch. It is hell of a cast. Hell of a cast. To me, it was a little bit slow to build, but my God, just watching it through what could have possibly been, the parents' eyes and the brother's eyes, just the tragedy that overtook that family. I highly recommend watching it as soon as you can. Right. This is one I have seen 0 movies in the theater since Top Gun Maverick came out a year or 2 ago. This is the first one I've seen since then, and it was worth it. It was totally worth it. I was so glad I went. It even brought my parents with me.
Really?
And they enjoyed the hell out of it. My mom had no idea what she was about to watch. Not a clue. She was like, this was a good movie. Thank you. She was like, and she said, did all that really happen? I was like, yeah. And they're missing one of the other guys. They were missing a brother that's no longer
couldn't fit it in. They couldn't fit it in. Brandon Thurston. Was it Brandon Thurston who put it? Maybe not. Brian Solomon, wrestling pundit Brian Solomon stated, a lot of people are misinterpreting the Iron Claw movie. They think it's a documentary or a docudrama. They don't know the difference between the two. It's not a documentary. It's a docudrama. Yes. That's why sometimes it's a little factually tweaked.
It's got to be
a little factually off. Yes, it's got to be entertaining, and they can't get all the info in there. Can't fit it all in there.
Here's what's going to piss me off because you know this is going to happen. Is all the wrestling nerds are going to be like, actually, he went to Japan in 1984, and they depicted in the movie that was a couple of months later, and Kerry Von Erich actually went to the WWE way after he. And there, there's also they didn't fight like that back then. Shut the hell up, enjoy the movie. I don't need your goddamn documentary, your World War II inch by inch must be perfect lineup. It's an entertaining movie. It told the story of the family. You understood what happened if you were not a wrestling nerd or a wrestling fan at heart, because there are two very distinct things. Believe you me, God knows. I'm a wrestling fan, not a wrestling nerd. This was a good wrestling fan movie. My mom enjoyed it. Like I said, she's never seen it before. But I already saw it when I got on Twitter. I saw the movie too, and I was like, I'm done. You're muted immediately. Shut up, man. Stop. God damn. Get a life, bro.
On that note, let's look at the happy side of wrestling. If you're stuck for a last-minute holiday gift, Don, for the wrestling fan in your house, I've got something for you right now. It's a special Funko Pop from a WWE Hall of Famer. Sonny.
Oh, my God. What the hell? That's
Sonny,
awful,
Funko
dude.
Pops. What?
That's awful.
Too soon?
Way too soon. In an orange jumpsuit with a steering wheel. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yes. Yes. The fifth of Grey Goose laying on the back of the car seat is behind her left heel.
Oh, that's awful.
Is it too soon?
Awful. Oh. Honestly, I thought you would have showed me some sort of a damn, I thought you were going to show me some damn sex dildo. It's from AEW. It was called the Pile Driver. For some reason.
My God, that'd be amazing. Maybe AEW can market that. They can tie that in with OnlyFans.
Well, you know who could use it is Chris Jericho and hand it out every time he tells somebody to go fuck themselves because he does it so often.
Yes. The last bit of news that I've got, Don, is Stephen P. New was on the Wrestling with Rip Rogers podcast.
No shit, really?
Yes, and it was revealed.
Could you give a little bit? Hold on. Give a little bit for people who don't know who Stephen P. New is. Give some background on my man.
Stephen P. New is he's a big time wrestling fan. He even has his own podcast that he does, I believe, just once a month. He's also the chosen legal representative for Jim Cornette.
For James E. Cornette.
James E. Cornette, and he's an advertiser in Cornette's show. And you probably heard the song, the Stephen P. New song, if you've listened to Cornette's show, the jingle that's in everyone's head. Stephen P. New, Stephen P. By Rocky the Ramone.
Yeah, I mean, that guy's great.
He's fantastic. So Stephen P. New has confirmed that Punk's AEW All Out 2022 Brawl NDA was signed for life. For life.
No
like
shit.
Being a member of the NWO for life. Same thing with Ace Steel. Ace Steel is also subject to a NDA for life. He had to sign one. And this is how slipshod that organization is. The one person that was in the room who did not have to sign an NDA, who saw the whole thing, Ace Steel's wife, Lucy. I assume her name is Lucy Steele.
Really?
So that story can be told one day by Lucy Steele. And I can't wait to hear it.
I can't wait either.
How stupid can one company be?
How stupid can one guy be? He's got
Jacksonville,
a
Dixie.
company, spending all that money, burning it left and right.
When Randy Orton called him Jacksonville Dixie on Twitter.
Yes, best line.
2 years ago, I was no more good. It was fantastic.
Well, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas again. We're right around the corner, and that fat man's coming down chimneys, and I can't wait. So, Merry Christmas to all. I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Like and subscribe. It costs you nothing. You nothing. And it helps us out. We really appreciate all the new subscribers. I hope next week we get back to some regular wrestling action. We're going to talk about our top fives, I think. Might be a little different, might be the same. Go tag team, women's, mid-champ, and heavyweight champ. I think that's a
match of the year. Match of the year.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, we do that too. Yeah, I know. I automatically know what my match of the year is.
Do you?
Absolutely.
Okay. I know what mine is too, and it's going to surprise you.
Does it involve the ding-dongs? How about the Malkies? Are the Malkies involved in this at all?
The
The Malky brothers
Oh,
versus the Guns at the VFW Hall in Athens, Georgia.
Dallas Sportatorium, God damn it!
The Dallas Sportatorium. I know a guy who would have loved to be at the Dallas Sportatorium to see the Malkies wrestle. The Gun
really,
brothers.
too?
Yes.
Until next week, Gordon Soley saying so long from the Sunshine State.